Hello and welcome! Today we're looking at one of the more obscure sets from Bionicle history, set 10023, the Master Builder or Rahi Builder set. This little set was released in mid-2002 and contains a selection of pieces along with instructions to build 15 different Rahi, although realistically you can't have more than one or two built at any one time without throwing some additional pieces into the mix. Now, despite the strange appearance of some of the models, and their mostly basic construction, the creatures are all considered canon, appearing in various Bionicle-related media such as the Matanui Online game and the comic series. In fact, a lot of these appearances actually predate the release of the set, which was designed at the start of the line in 2001, at the same time as the other 2001 Rahi like Nui Jaga and Nui Rama, but it was released a year later. And even after its release, the Rahi would continue to show up, appearing in the Metro Nui-based Maze of Shadows game on the Game Boy Advance, and then occasionally popping up in other places as well. So, unfortunately, despite the prevalence of Rahi in the Bionicle storyline, the set itself is very rare. I'm not sure if that's because it didn't sell very well, or if it just wasn't widely available, but unfortunately its rarity means that it commands anywhere from $50 to $100 online, and that's just loose, which is especially unfortunate considering the small size of the set. Anyway, on with the review. Inside the box you get 102 pieces. There are a number of standard Technic bits, but you also get Onua's claws in orange, an orange Pakari mask, a dark grey tow head, a couple of red fairings, some elastic bands, and a few gears. There's also Galley's hook in red, which is nice to have, but I know what you're thinking, why is this set so rare and expensive when every single one of those pieces can be found elsewhere? Well, the answer to that question lies with these two Slicer body halves. They're exclusive to this set in red. No other set contains them. Even Fire Slicer, who would seem like an obvious source of red parts, only had them in black. Oh, and red flex tube in this specific length is exclusive as well, but you could cut down a longer one if you really wanted. Anyway, enough about the pieces, let's have a look at the Rahi. So, first up we have the Hikaki, which is some kind of fire creature. Now, a number of other Rahi in the set are inspired by earth animals, but I don't think this is one of them. I'm not really sure what it's supposed to be, to be honest. Maybe a dinosaur? Anyway, the Hikaki uses 73 of the 102 pieces, making it the build with the second highest piece count. It's also the biggest model in the set's instruction manual, roughly the same size as a Toa and much larger than most of the other builds, which is probably why LEGO chose this one as the mascot of the set and slapped it on the front of the box. Now for play features, the legs are posable and you can spin its tail to adjust the hips. There's a lever on the back that can wiggle the arms, but there's no head or neck articulation, which unfortunately leaves this build feeling a little bit lacking. Next up is the Ussal Crab. These guys were a common sight in the Matanui Online game, and were the first species of Rahi to appear in the comics. They're easily tamed, and are prized by Matoran for their friendliness, their strength, and their mining abilities. The underground village of Onukoro even has a mounted defence force called the Ussalry, which features Matoran riding on Ussal Crabs. This particular Ussal is one of the smaller ones, but they vary in size and appearance, with a much larger Ussal named Fiku appearing in a later set with Takua. For play features, the pincers have a little action feature where they can grip onto things thanks to a couple of elastic bands, and the eye stalks are articulated. That's pretty much it, although you can have a Matoran figure ride around on its back. And if you're a fan of Ussals, you'll be pleased to hear that this particular build doesn't use any of the exclusive pieces, so if you really want to build an army of them without breaking the bank, it's fairly easy to do so. Next up we have the Husi, which is some kind of ostrich, or maybe it's one of those nodding birds with liquid inside. Either way, these things are known for their high speed and for their deadly beaks. The Husi is the first Rahi to make use of those exclusive body halves, which means that this particular build comes with a rather hefty price tag. The legs are posable, and the neck can be very slowly adjusted by turning the back gear, but it feels like a bit of a missed opportunity for some kind of pecking action feature. Next up is the Fikkou, a dangerous species of tree spider with a venomous bite. These things weave strong webs to ensnare their prey, and can even tunnel underground. Using just 13 of the 102 pieces, this is the most basic Rahi in the set. It doesn't have any action features, but it does make use of the included mask piece, and you can pose the head thanks to the ball joint. To be honest, I think the simplicity works in its favour. It's a super cute build, and one of my favourites. And it seems that LEGO liked it too, since the Fikkou was released again in 2003, on its own as a polybag. The only difference between the two releases is that the polybag version has a standard grey tower head instead of a dark grey one. There was also a black version shown in the LEGO Club magazine in 2001, with instructions telling you how to build one using parts from Onua and Puhatu. Sticking with the jungle theme, we have the Kuna, or bog snake. These venomous vipers have extremely bad temperaments. They prey on small reptiles and amphibians that live in the swamps, and have even been known to swarm together to attack Nui Jaga. The Kuna's body is mostly lift arms strung together to make it as long and snake-like as possible, but there's not much flexibility. Up front there's a nice little action feature, where you can twist a gear to make the head snap forward to deliver a venomous bite. Watch out! Next up is the Kiwa, or Goku Kahu as it was originally called, although it had to be renamed after LEGO's legal dispute with the Maori, who weren't so happy about LEGO appropriating their language for toys. Kahu means hawk, for anyone wondering. The Kiwa has some limited articulation in the arms, or legs, whatever they are, but the main action feature is a wing flapping action that can be triggered by spinning the gear on its back. In the Bionicle universe, these things are easily tamed, and Matoran of the treetop village Lee Koro found they could summon the trained birds using flutes. Tamed Kiwa were kept in woven birdhouses, and were often ridden for sport, or for defence of the village against attacks from Rahi like Nui Rama. Unfortunately, the limited articulation of the Matoran sets means they can't really ride like they do in the game, so you have to kind of perch them on top. Even if you add some leg joints, they still look a little bit uncomfortable. And since these things come in all different colours, why not switch some parts around for more variety? You can have a green one for jungle camo, or how about a white one for Arctic operations? And if you're wondering how the Kiwa scales up with the Nui Rama, here you go. Aside from the obvious size difference, the two sets actually look kind of similar, which is strange really, since one is supposed to be a big insect and the other is supposed to be a bird. Next up is the Kofo Jaga. These scorpion-like Rahi are attracted to heat and flame, and they love dark places, which seems a little bit contradictory really, since fire generally gives off light. Anyway, this is a weird little build. Both elastic bands get used, and you might expect them to power some cool attack action feature with the arms, but no. The arms are just fixed in place, and those bands are just there to hold the eyes steady, which honestly seems like a bit of a missed opportunity. And the tail can't even bend far forwards enough for a convincing sting attack. The best it can manage is a pivot at the waist, but do scorpions even have waists? It's not a bad little build, but in a world where the Nui Jaga already exists, you might be better off using the limited pieces in this set to build something a bit more unique. Something like the Rookie here. These big fish are the piranhas of the Bionicle world, and they come equipped with powerful jaws for nibbling on anything that gets in their way. They're considered a nuisance by the Matoran Islanders since they love to chew through fishing nets, but large schools can drive off dangerous aquatic Rahi like the Tarakava. The jaws snap open and closed when you squeeze the body, and the mechanism is strong enough to clamp onto pretty much anything. The colour scheme is a little bit boring, with mostly grey parts and only a tiny splash of orange, but you can easily switch things up. After all, who suspects the humble Magikarp? Anyway, sticking with the aquatic theme, we have the Takaya, a shark-like Rahi that patrols the depths of Matanui's oceans. Fittingly, the Takaya has a biting action feature, but the jaws don't open very far, and there aren't any rubber bands involved to snap it shut again. Compared to the Rookie, it feels a little bit unfinished. It doesn't even make use of the included panels as fins, which seems like a bit of a no-brainer really for the design. If you want a snapping fish for your Bionicle world, stick with the Rookie. Next is the Taku, a seabird of some kind like a cormorant or puffin. Lewa saved one of these from falling out of its nest when he first arrived on Matanui, and to be honest, falling out of a nest is pretty much all this model is good for. It's very small, it's very basic, and it's got no action features, so it can't even flap its wings. There's a little articulation in the ankles, thanks to those ball joints, but wiggly feet aren't enough to save this boring bird from obscurity. Slightly more interesting, and definitely much cuter, is the Hoto. These little beetles can give off heat that's intense enough to allow them to tunnel through rock and earth, and even some buildings. The model has wing covers that open and close, and the eyes are posable as well, so it can watch you wherever you go. Next up is the Macika. This toad-like cave dweller has poisonous skin, and its acidic venom is prized by Matoran miners, who use it to tunnel through rock. Aside from the addition of arms and legs, the Macika's construction is very similar to the Rookie, with an action feature that involves pressing the back to open the jaw. Next up is the Shore Turtle, or the Hoi, as it used to be called before LEGO's legal dispute with the Maori. Hoi means oar, for anyone wondering, which is fairly appropriate for a shore turtle. There's a little bit of articulation in the neck and in the back legs, and it's the second of just 2 builds in this set to make use of the included orange Pakari. And for some inexplicable reason, these things are actually capable of flight, because why not? Where is he going? What will he see? Only the Hoi knows. And from the skies of Matanui, we move to the open plains with the Varco. These rhino-like Rahi are capable of charging at great speeds, making them very dangerous to Matoran and even to other Rahi. The head is posable and the horn flips up, but I'm not sure that's intentional. The gear on the back can be turned to adjust the creature's stance, and the back legs wiggle a bit. And finally, the Fusa. These kangaroo-like Rahi are sure-footed over rocky terrain and are at home in desert and coastal regions. They're fairly docile, but they're more than capable of defending themselves if provoked, as you'll see shortly. The build uses 74 of the 102 pieces, making the Fusa the most complex model in the set. There's articulation in the head and the waist, but the main action feature is the arms. You can press down on either of the shoulder blades to launch a devastating punch. It's basically the same mechanism used by the Tarakava, but on a much smaller scale. And there you have it, a quick look at all 15 models in the Master Builder set. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'd love to hear which one was your favourite, so drop a like, leave a comment, and stay tuned for more Bionicle content. Ta-ta!